let's talk about creativity. So I've described this creative process as moving back and forth between these two mental states. And that's a really important point, because if you just were in the wild mind and you had a great idea, then you went to the analytical mind and you made some adjustments to it, and then you hit save, and that's it, and now that's the idea, then that wasn't really a process, and the analytical mind part of it was not creative. That was editorial, right? That was you editing your work, which is an unnecessary step, but not the one we're talking about here. What I'm describing, this process, is an organic back and forth. So it doesn't end with the analytical mind. It's more like you are in the wild mind, you have some ideas, maybe some really unexpected ideas, maybe a cat shows up unexpectedly, and then you kind of shift over to the analytical mind and you make some adjustments and you start thinking, oh, that I really liked that idea, I'm not even sure why, but it doesn't fit because of this. And so you start thinking about that idea and how can I change it, and you start making adjustments and you're being very analytical, but as you work on it, you start to drift back into the wild mind, right? And that's a really important step, that you drift back, because now you're coming back into the wild mind where you're going to be sort of more free association, looser, but you're bringing with you the kind of thoughts that you had in the analytical mind. You're sort of bringing like you had the original idea, and then you went to the analytical mind and you thought, oh, that idea doesn't work for these reasons, but I think what I was trying to do with that idea was good. And then when you drift back in the wild mind, now you know you need a different idea that achieves this same thing, right? And then you work on that for a while, and then you kind of drift back to analytical mind and you look at your new idea and you go, oh, this is working much better, okay, and this is great, and then you drift back into the wild mind. So that's why the analytical mind is a part of this process, because it's not the end of the process, it's just an organic step that keeps going. You keep vacillating back and forth between the two poles, and as you do that, you start to refine ideas, come up with new ideas, you build and you build and you build, or I should say you build and refine and generate and build and refine and generate. So it's that back and forth, and in that context, the analytical mind is a part of the creative process. The analytical way of thinking about ideas doesn't become more formal editorial type work until you've kind of stepped out of that whole creative process and said, this is what I've produced in my creative process, now I need to put it in the game, and oh, look at all these things I have to do to it. That's all for now. I'll see you on the next one.